welcome again to the Executive Room podcast, where we delve deep into the minds of remarkable executives who have shaped the business world with their ideas and actions. I'm your host, Kimberly Afonso, CEO and founder of the KA Consulting Group, and today it's an honor to have George Wentworth with us. George is the COO of Delph X Capital Markets and founder of Group Wentworth, an office in the box solutions company that provides strategic consulting and back office operations for small and medium sized businesses. He's very passionate about helping companies grow with a focus on minority owned enterprises. George also leads the Outbounds, a real estate development firm that shifted during the pandemic to focus on work-life balance through short-term rentals. He's an advocate for mentorship, actively involved in the Federal Reserve Bank's mentorship program, and contributes to various associations. So let's get started. George, thank you for joining us from the middle of New York City today. So anyone watching with the video can see your great background. So thanks for joining us from there today. And I would love to start with your book. Could you tell us what inspired you to write it and what the key message was that you were hoping to share with your readers?
Thank you, Kimberly. Pleasure to be on your podcast, to be a guest. My book was something that I had thought about for quite some time. And it was one of those things that I knew it would be hard. I knew it would be an endeavor that I would have to take on at some point. But it's one of those things that when you have the opportunity, you should say yes to it and figure out the rest as it goes along. A good friend of mine introduced me to a fantastic editor that was looking for someone with a specific story. So with Matt, we interviewed. He said, I really love what you have to say, and I want us to contribute on a book. I should feel like I should name the book so it doesn't become this mystery. It's called The Expanding Man Chronicles. And in it, I explore a little bit about my background, but what I really focus on is the power of mentorship and how that has really been a driving force in my life, both personally and professionally, how it has helped my career. Because without my mentors, I know I wouldn't be here today. I don't know where I would be, but I wouldn't be here today. They have, they were all very generous with their time, with their skills, with their sharing, and they really helped me in this journey. And I talk a lot about it on the book. And my sort of advice, and if someone is reading the book, hopefully that's the message that they'll get, is that you don't have to do everything alone. There are people out there that are willing to extend a helping hand. And if you become a person that is in a position to offer an extending hand, you should.
And could you share a little bit more about mentorship with us? You know, you wrote your whole book about it, which is really inspiring. Why did you find it so crucial? How has it impacted your own entrepreneurial journey? And yeah, what do you think other entrepreneurs should consider when they're looking to, have a mentor?
Right. So for me, mentorship, I would compare it to driving in an unknown territory without a map or GPS. You can do it, but it's a lot harder. So having a mentor or having some sort of mentorship offers you guidance, offers you valuable information that you can then take, and it will aid you in your journey, or aid you in wherever it is that you are wanting to go. So for businesses specifically, I've seen firsthand as a mentee and as a mentor that when you are given a multitude of information and shared experiences, you are able to make better decisions because they're more informed decisions. So they're still your decisions, but you are now equipped with all the tools necessary to make the best possible decision in that situation. And I actually learned that from one of my mentors, who is also a huge believer in having mentors. And used to always tell me he would always ask his mentors, he would take all the information, and ultimately the decision was his, even if it was against what all the other mentors had told him. But he would make the most informed decisions because of that. So I always take that and keep it in the back of my head. Use your mentor's guidance and advice as a reference book. So it's always there, but ultimately the decision is yours. So like you're behind the wheel, but you have that map, you have that GPS sort of giving you directions. You can choose to take it or not, but you are more aware of what's going on. So that has helped me in growing my business, in how I approach and acquire new clients, how I acquire and retain top talent, because I've had these wonderful people that were very generous with their knowledge and their time sharing that with me. For anybody looking for mentors, I would say look for mentors that have skills, knowledge, or experience that will complement what you have. So you don't necessarily need to find mentors that are where you want to be because everybody has a different journey. You don't know where they started. So it's fine, but it's not really where I would start. I would really recommend anyone looking for a mentor to really take a look at yourself, look at what skills, knowledge, or experience you're lacking. Try to find people that have that. They don't have to have the same experience as you. They don't have to look like you. They don't have to have come from the same background as you. But if they have those complementing skill sets and they're willing to share the knowledge with you, they will make good mentors and you will grow.
And how many mentors do you usually have at any given time? And are they usually paid or unpaid? Do you have any advice, on that for other entrepreneurs? I know, for example, I personally have a few different coaches who I would also consider my mentors. I also have more informal relationships. But is there anything you can share with our audience? It would be great to hear from your point of view.
Absolutely. So, what I would say is coaches can be mentors. They live they live in the same universe. They're driving the same lane. But the way I personally distinguish is a coach is a professional. So, I would assume and expect that this is a financial transaction as well. So, like you are paying someone to coach you. With mentors in general, again, this how I view it is someone that is, believing in you and taking a chance and giving you the time and knowledge. So um, I don't have a paid coach right now. I have worked with coaches in the past. I don't have one because I'm lucky enough to have three fantastic mentors, including my mentor from the Federal Reserve Bank. Um, so I have some amazing people that are still here and are still giving me guidance. Unfortunately, I lost one of my mentors, probably the biggest mentor of my life, a few years ago. Um, but I, am, I feel like I should count him because his voice is still in my head, and I still have his guiding advice, helping me out almost every day. So that I feel like that counts as well. Um, and then as far as mentees, I have two that I am currently working with right now. One that has a very exciting business that she's about to launch, but she's she's not ready yet, so I can't talk much about her business. But I would say for anyone that is looking for a coach, if you know somebody that is working with a coach already, that can give you some advice or recommendations, go for it. And again, for mentors, if you can find someone that has those complementing skill sets, do that. Or look for organizations that have mentorship programs. I know quite a few. I mean, here in New York, the Federal Reserve Bank has an amazing mentorship program. I know the MTA actually has a mentorship program for MWBE businesses. If you have a small MWBE business, they will partner you up with the larger business to um, do that. So look for programs in your area, and that might be the best pathway to find a mentor that will have the skill sets that you need.
Great, great advice, and really great to hear, how you distinguish between one relationship and the other between coaching, because that's a great point. One is the financial transaction and one isn't. So I think that's, really great for all of our listeners to also keep in mind. And with your mentors, did you find most of them just naturally? Were you proactive about it? Do you have any advice there for our listeners who may be entrepreneurs looking for mentors?
Absolutely. I talk a lot about it on my book,
They'll have to
and
read.
you'll have to buy it and read it. No, so I've most of my mentors have come naturally. I have also joined a couple of programs, including the Federal Reserve Bank's mentorship program. So some of those were through a program, and you go through rounds of interviews, and they pair you up with somebody that has the skill sets that you need. But the majority were people that I had met that I knew, and some were not formal. I never went to them and say, "Hey, can you be my mentor?" It was more of a very organic, natural thing where I would come to them asking for business advice or asking how they did X, Y, or Z. And it evolved into this mentor mentee relationship. Um, but when I say it was informal, I just mean I didn't come to them and say, "Hey, can you please be my mentor?" But it was intentional in the sense of I would come to them and ask for specific help, and they knew I would come to them for business guidance or career advice, and continue to do so. One of my mentors I've known since I was a teenager, and I still pick on his brain here and there for career advice. So you know, it's ongoing.
Great, great advice. And I'd love to pivot now, George, to hearing a little bit more about your leadership advice. So, as we mentioned, you've held various management and executive positions, and now you're the CEO of two companies and COO of a third one. So, can you tell us a bit more about your background and how you got to where you are right now in your career?
Sure, absolutely. I did not have a sort of straight linear career path to where I am today. I like to say it was curvy, lots of ups and downs, and some sideways as well. I am an immigrant. I moved to the U.S. when I was a teenager, and my first sort of career break, if you will, came from adversity. As a lot of you know queer teenagers, members of the LGBT community, I ended up becoming homeless as a teenager because of my sexuality, and had to sort of find my own way. Was able to. I lived in Boston at the time, and I got a job working in a restaurant, and had one of the owners actually become one of my mentors and really teach me about business. And that's when I learned bookkeeping and payroll and inventory and HR. And it really gave me a wonderful foundation that I still use to this day. From there, I had an opportunity to sort of change industries and work. in construction and became a project manager for a construction company. Moved to New Hampshire, worked in construction for a couple of years, pivoted from that to real estate uh, management and investing, and had my first startup when I was 20, um, which was fun while going to college full time. So working full time, going to school full time, running a business, but it forced me to prioritize certain things, to develop a really strong work ethic, but also be mindful of my time. And that's when I really started to perfect my skills on both time blocking and being able to pivot quickly from one thing to another. I'm not a believer in multitasking. I don't think anybody can truly multitask, but I think you can train yourself to be able to quickly pivot from one thing to something completely unrelated. And it takes practice, but that's something that can be done. And that's how I've managed to still do a lot, but within the same amount of time that we all allotted to every day, 24 hours, right? So I'll have. But anyway, so did that for many years. Moved to New York, sold my business, and was looking for a different, new, fun opportunity, and didn't want to run another business at that time. I thought, I want to have that corporate America experience. And so I did. Um, I ended up spending 8 years working for a multinational management consulting and tech company. Um, it was fun, it was interesting, learned a lot, but ultimately it wasn't for me. And a few years ago, started running a couple of business again, and it's where I'm at today. So it wasn't a straight line. It wasn't just a one industry kind of thing, uh, but it gave me a diverse skill set that I get to use on all my businesses, and I get to use it every day.
Really, really inspiring story as well for where you were able to come from and do so much also in your teenage years to get to where you are today. And is there more about that in your book? So if our listeners read your book, and are they going to find out a little bit more about that story? Because I'm sure there's a lot more to share. That's probably very inspiring too.
There is more. Actually, writing the book and the challenging part about uh, telling the story wasn't really about the mentorships or the business. It really was about that particular period of my life, and what got me to that point and where I was at mentally and emotionally during that time. So that was probably the hardest part of writing that story, but it was an important part to tell and also for me to review. I really believe that we grow when we go outside of our comfort zone. You know, we can grow and learn in discomfort, and that was absolutely outside of my comfort zone, both in writing and in revisiting that part. But what I would tell anyone today that is going through any sort of adversity is at the time I didn't know how everything was going to turn out. I just had this strong belief in myself and that somehow things were going to work out because I was going to do whatever I needed to do to make it better. I don't know if that will resonate with a lot of people, but I didn't have a lot of things that were within my control. So all I could really do is make sure I was as okay as I could make myself. That I stayed as positive as I could given the circumstances, and that I was trying my hardest every day to change my situation, to change my luck, if you will. And those are the things that I did. I mean, it was very difficult to do that as a teenager in a strange city with no money and no friends. Um, but again, I relied on my instincts and um, really just took every opportunity. My first job was, you know, part time in a basement kitchen, chopping tomatoes. But I showed up every day with a good attitude, and that became a part-time job. And within 3 months, I had been promoted to assistant manager, and within 6 months, I was running one of the new franchises. So now, I mean, I'm cutting through a lot here for time's sakes, but the point is, yes, within 6 months, I went from unemployed. Um, Homeless teenager to running a business. It wasn't my business, but it was a business, and learning a lot from it. So it is possible, or at least it was possible for me, but it was traumatic. It was hard, but it taught me a very important lesson early on in life, which is that you can, to a certain extent, given the circumstances, change your luck.
It just reminded me of a quote I always remember, which is you have to believe it to achieve it. And it seems like you really believed in yourself and you were able to achieve everything through that. So really inspiring story.
Oh, thank you so much. It's something that I don't always think about, but so I don't have a canned answer or a short little blurb for the story. But yeah, hopefully will resonate with someone out there that might be going through something difficult in their lives, and know that if you truly believe in yourself and you are giving yourself the sort of the best opportunities you possibly can, and stay as positive without being delusional, but staying as positive as you can, that you can change your luck.
And I would love for our listeners to now hear a little bit more about Group Wentworth. I know when we met briefly, George, I loved the office in a box slogan you have, which is to describe your services. Could you tell us more about what inspired you to create your company? And, what do you do and how do you help other organizations?
Absolutely. So thank you. So the office in a box slogan was actually given to me by a director at the Federal Reserve Bank, as I described what we did. So it wasn't, the business came first, the services, and then the slogan. Again, talking about having mentors, having people help you. That's something that sounds great and people get it. But I needed someone to give that to me. Um, I love working in business operations. I like seeing businesses grow. Um, when the pandemic hit, and the company I was working for had announced they were closing the New York office where I worked. I saw that as the opportunity I needed to leave and start something new. I was comfortable. It was a great job, great pay, great perks. But it was also bored. I was not challenged anymore. There was no more room to grow. I was sort of like stuck in that box. And what I knew I was passionate about was working with different businesses, challenging my knowledge and my skill set, and working with teams to solve problems. Um, I had a great team that I worked with at my corporate job. They were also leaving, so I said, okay, let me take this opportunity to start something new. While I was still working at that corporate job, I had taken some side work. I worked with a lot of nonprofits, sort of pro bono, helping them with their business structure, with improving their business operations. So I knew there was a need for that for small and medium sized businesses. So I took that idea. I knew it was something that I could do. I ended up having a fantastic team that I had trained and nurtured that was willing to come with me in this journey. And I did it. And that's how Group Wentworth was born. And it's a group because it was literally our working group starting something really special together. Um, and now we help a lot of companies, of mostly medium size, improve their business operations. We unburden a lot of problems, a lot of stress from business owners, from the leadership, to make businesses run better. I tell people you can delegate your stress to us.
Very well said. That's another great slogan that people can think about when they think about Group Wentworth: office in a box and delegating their stress. So, I'd love for us to hear also about what are some of the lessons you learned from running Group Wentworth. And yes, is there anything that you think could inspire other entrepreneurs, specifically from what you've learned running this company?
Yes, absolutely. So there are things that I learned both from running Group Wentworth that I knew to be true from my previous businesses, and because I get to sort of get a bird's eye view in a lot of businesses and entrench myself into the operations, I get to learn not only from Group Wentworth, but also from my clients' businesses, right? So there's certain things that I know to be true, and then everything else is negotiable. Um, so for entrepreneurs starting a business or someone that is running a business right now, I would say having a strong office setup. And when I say office setup, and it goes back to office in a box, I mean business operations, right? So having a well set up finance uh, department, having your team with all the tools they need to succeed, and offering quality to your clients, whether it's another business, whether it's, so B2B, B2C, those are the pillars of having a strong, sustainable business of any size. Everything else, negotiable. Those you need strong business operations. You need a team that is empowered and are given all the tools they need to succeed. And you need to offer the best possible quality in your product or service. If you do that, you have a pretty good chance of having a business that sticks around.
It seems like, what you're saying is that a lot of the basic pillars need to be in place. And I'm sure from what you've said that, some businesses may just even take that for granted or not actually have those, those pillars or that foundation in place. So, really interesting to hear how there's so many other, businesses you're able to help build that. And what are some of your key leadership principles? So, you're running three businesses at the moment. That's really a lot of interesting things going on. As you know, a lot of entrepreneurs do have multiple things going on at once. What are some of your leadership principles or your values that are things that you always stick to in all of your
Mhm.
businesses?
The, I would say the only reason I'm able to do what I do is because of these two hacks, principles, nuggets of wisdom, whatever you want to call it. I hire the best people I can possibly hire. Right? So if you say, well, I have budget constraints or my company is small, it's fine. Still hire the best you can possibly hire. Then delegate as much as you possibly can to those people. So you gotta hire the best you can. Then you can delegate to them. If you don't hire the best and you delegate, things don't get done. If you hire the best and you don't delegate, they get bored or you're not fully utilizing your resources, because that's why you hire the best. So hire the best, delegate as much as you can. This way, what you need to do is just the core that is yours that you really need to deliver. Now it becomes time management and figuring out how you're going to do what you need to do. But hire the best, give them the tools they need to succeed, delegate as much as you can, and hopefully you see a lot of results. I have. So for the Outbounds, which is uh, real estate management company. We do have some properties as well, short-term rentals. We've pivoted to some long-term rentals as well, and property remodeling. I work with really smart, capable people that do most of the heavy lifting. So I can take some credit for it, but they are really doing most of the heavy lifting, which is wonderful because it frees me up to do something else. So then I can be present and focus on growing Group Wentworth, where again, I have an amazing team that I've worked with and nurtured and collaborated with longer than Group Wentworth has been around. So our group is older than the company itself, which is quite nice. So we work as a well-oiled machine. There was a lot of trust there, and Delph is amazing. It's fun. They have fantastic new products on the market, and it forced me into a completely different industry, the financial world, that I wasn't as familiar with as other industries. And it's exciting. And I'm truly happy to be a part of that as well. And learn and grow. And again, growing because I'm outside of my comfort zone. That's always key for me.
Great advice to anyone listening. And I think those are, values and hacks that anyone can use really in any industry. So thank you for sharing those with us. And this podcast, as you know, George, is all about vocal leadership. You have a really great presence on LinkedIn. Um, Tell us a little bit about it. How do you do your content? What, inspires you, and how do you manage your LinkedIn? And what advice would you give to other executives who are looking to build or enhance their own public presence?
Sure. So thank you, first of all. I uh, I think LinkedIn is a fantastic tool. I was just at an event last night and was talking to someone that is still starting their career, quite young, and they didn't have a LinkedIn. And I told them, I was like, you have to have a presence. It's a great place to network, to showcase your skill sets, to catch up with people that you meet at events. It's a tool, right? Like anything else, it's a tool, and if you're using it properly, you're going to see results. For me, I was mindful of my audience, and I built it from there. So, who is my target audience? Who is my current audience? Are they the same? And by and large, they are. And then, what is it that I know or learned that I could share with them that would provide value? And then that's sort of where my content comes from. And I would say for anyone, it doesn't matter your industry, it doesn't matter what point you are in your career, if you understand who your target audience is on social media, who your current audience is, if you need to bridge that gap, you need to, and what can you share with them that will provide value to them. Keep keeping that in mind. I think it's like if you're a public speaker or a teacher, or if you're writing an article or book, it really is about your audience. You already know what you're saying, so it's how can you communicate that in a way that will be clear and useful for your audience. And then a lot of my content, my initial content years ago was just things that I knew to be true or that business or my audience would need. Now it's mostly inspired by conversations. So I might be talking to a mentee or to a client or to a potential client or a colleague about a subject, and sometimes I'll think, this would make a good article or a good video, and I will jot down ideas, and you know, 2 days later, it'll be an article on LinkedIn or a video on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, X, whatever it's called now. Um, so it's mostly about knowing what will provide value and then just focusing on that. Just give them value and everything else sort of falls into place.
And I'd love for us, George, such great advice throughout the entire episode. So thank you for sharing all of that. To wrap up, love to hear a little bit more about all of the associations you work with. We saw you work with the National Women in Construction, many other organizations supporting minority groups, including LGBTQ and Latino communities. Tell us a little bit about who you're working with, how they've influenced your approach to business and advocacy for diversity and inclusion, which we know is so important today.
Yes, absolutely. So there's a few organizations that I'm very involved with. So the National Women in Construction, I'm uh, involved with the New York chapter. It's an amazing group of women in leadership in construction. So breaking that glass ceiling and thriving. They just held their inaugural gala last week in New York, which was amazing. But also a great networking opportunity. It's a great group of business-minded individuals that want to work together and promote one another. um, a lot of those members are also part of other minority groups and are involved in other you know areas. So another group that I'm a member of is the National Hispanic Business Group. And contrary to its name, it's not just for Hispanics. You don't need to be Hispanic to. No, I'm not Hispanic, and I am a member. Um, it's a wonderful group. Um, they work with a lot of large enterprises as well as small businesses, and they really help members get a foot in the door for other businesses, for large companies. So I became a vendor for some pretty large companies here in the area, and I would never have had those opportunities if it wasn't for the NHBG, the National Hispanic Business Group. Um, my business and myself were nominated for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York mentorship program through one of these organizations, through the NHBG. So again, fantastic opportunity that would not have happened without that group. I've gotten some amazing clients that are also members because part of those programs is to work with one another. Another uh, amazing organization that I am a member of is the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. Again, New York chapter. They do some really fantastic events. There are chapters throughout the country for individuals and entrepreneurs alike. And when I started Group Wentworth, one of the programs that they offer every month were these um, entrepreneur mixers. And you had an opportunity to pitch your business to other members, and you had sort of skilled folks that would judge your pitch basically and give you immediate feedback. So it was like sort of a competition style, a little bit like Shark Tank, but more informal. But giving you all the skill sets that you are actually going to need in the real world to have your business succeed. So it's incredibly useful for I mean, for professionals in general, business owners in particular, to become members of different chambers of commerce, different groups that will help you. For me specifically, it's been incredibly rewarding to be a member of said groups that are minority oriented, if you will, because we don't have all the same opportunities as non-minorities, right? There are certain challenges that we face that are unique to us. So to be amongst your peers that have experienced the same thing and maybe have figured out a thing or two that work gives you that edge. And now you know how to navigate those hurdles a little bit better. And there was also that comfort in being surrounded by people that are like you. So, you're not alone. So it's a combination of all those things and why I'm so involved in these organizations, but also why I'm such a believer in giving to these organizations, to helping and to letting other people know that there are some wonderful resources out there for professionals and business owners alike. So go out there and look for organizations that have people that look like you or have experiences like yours, and see if you can join.
So well said. So thank you so much for all of your insights today, George. Where can people find you? Should they connect with you on LinkedIn, your website? Where are the best places for them to connect with you after listening?
Absolutely. So they can go to Group Wentworth, uh, and it's at groupwentworth.com. Um, and they can learn a little bit more about Office in a Box. We just launched our new redesigned fancy website, so go out there and let us know what you think. I'm George Wentworth on LinkedIn. It's the Office in a Box guy. So if you see that, I'm verified. That's me. And then on all other social media, I am Lord of Hardwick. So it's at Lord of Hardwick on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and all the other small social media sites.
Great. So everyone will definitely give you a follow after. So thank you again for joining us. And until next time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the week.